What's up guys, Enigma Av here. Let's talk about one of my favorite Genshin Impact characters, Yoimiya. Now, when Yoimiya was released, she had some major glaring issues, but thanks to some team drafting, she can easily overcome those weaknesses. She is one of the best single target DPS characters in the game, and she's one of the few characters who doesn't need their burst to actually perform well. Let's first skim through her talents. Her talent priority is her normal attack, then her skill, then her burst. Her normal attacks are worth crowning because they hit hard. Her skill unfortunately is an abysmal boost. You get less than 3% damage per level. If you want to min-max your Yoimiya, you can crown it, but I wouldn't suggest raising it past level 8. Do not crown her burst. Her burst is one of the most useless bursts in the game for herself. Now, it is good for her teammates, but the damage isn't really worth it for leveling. Leveling the burst won't actually help with buffing your teammates, so it really isn't worth raising past level 6. Each time one of your teammates triggers an Aurora Blaze, the blaze will go boom. Her first passive is pretty good. She gains up to 20% pyro damage, but you'll never reach max stacks unless you have C6 because they fall off after about 3 seconds. So you're realistically seeing about 6 to 14% pyro damage boost. Her second passive is a nice boost to your party. Since some characters snapshot, it's normally worth it to use her burst after her attack string. This way you'll build up stacks to increase the attack percent even more. The minimum boost that you can get here is 10%, but if you're using a lot of normal attacks and you get those stacks, that's just extra attack percent added onto that. Any character that snapshots will be able to take advantage of this after her burst, so it's always worth using Yoimiya's burst after you use her string of attacks, or at the very beginning before you even use your support skills. So Yoimiya as a character alone is actually quite strong. Her normal attack string is quite powerful. One thing to remember if you want to play Yoimiya smoothly is when you use her elemental skill, you can fit in 3 normal attack strings. If you have an attack speed buff like C2 Jean or Yunjin C6, then you can get about 3.5 attack strings. As for Yoimiya's charge attack, they're good for fishing and birds. That's it. I can't really say much about Yoimiya's Constellations, but I can't speak about them anyways. So her C1 is a nice 20% attack boost, but it's conditional. You have to defeat an enemy when they're under the effects of her burst. This is a very niche buff because it's useless against bosses and you only have a 10-second window to trigger the effect. And it's even worse if you're using the Shimenawa effects because you're going to want to use your supports after you actually trigger her burst. Her C2 is actually really good. Whenever she crits, she gets 25% pyro damage, which lasts for 6 seconds. However, you'll basically be able to keep this up all the time because Yoimiya should always be hitting crits. Her C4 is kinda useless. The cooldown reduction doesn't really help. With 90% of Yoimiya's teams, by the time you use all your other characters in your rotation, her skills are off cooldown, so there's really no use here. Her C6 is pretty nice, as all C6s should be, but it's a bit misleading. I originally thought that it was considered basic attack damage, like the white numbers, instead of pyro damage, but it is in fact pyro damage. I'm not sure how it works with vapor reactions, but it's pretty cool to see 1,000 arrows fly out. Yoimiya has a few artifact options, but her best set in my opinion is the 4-piece Shimenawa. It is technically made for her. Since she doesn't need to use her burst until the end of her attack strings, she will gain back the 15 energy from her skills during her attack string. Her burst doesn't add any damage to herself, but it does buff your teammates. Her second best set is going to be 2-piece Crimson Witch and 2-piece Shimenawa or Gladiator. She can also use 4-piece Crimson Witch, but just aim for the best substats in this case. If you have neither, you can run a mix of Gladiator and Shimenawa, but she does really want that pyro damage bonus. Yoimiya can utilize a lot of 5-star bows. Polar Star, Thundering Pulse, and Skyward Harp are all really good on her. However, if you have Rust at R5, it rivals all of them. It will lose out to Thundering Pulse, but it's close. I consider the Rust a 4.5 star weapon, honestly. It's just stupidly good on normal attack characters. Skyward Harp does help with your ratio, so if you're lacking crit rate, then definitely use that, but otherwise R5 Rust actually beats R0 Skyward Harp. If you do happen to have refinements for Skyward Harp, it does win out, but not by much. If you lack those options, then you can use Blackclave Warbow or even Viridescent Hunt is decent on her. But Rust is definitely the way to go, even at R0. Yoimiya can seem underwhelming in area of effect situations, but a good team will change all of that. One thing to remember when you're drafting a team with Yoimiya is that she really needs at least a shielder or someone who has a degree of interruption resistance. That would be Xingqiu, Beidou, or Toma for interruption resistance, and of course any shielder. She is easily knocked around, so she needs a bit of resistance. She has a lot of team options. You can go Vape, Pure Overload, Double Geo, so her best partners are going to be Xingqiu, Fischl, Beidou, Zhongli, and of course, Bennett. However, for C0 Yoimiya, she really does want either Bennett or a Double Geo comp to deal sufficient damage. You can mix and match teams to your preference, but I love running this team for Pure Overload, and a more reaction-based team like this. The Double Geo comp is stunningly powerful. You can use Xingqiu or Fischl or even Bennett here. If you don't have Albedo, you can use Yunjin instead. She does do comparable damage, but the only problem with Yunjin is that she doesn't help any of Yoimiya's issues, and she will suffer greatly against multiple targets. Sure, she can melt single targets, but if there's more than 2 enemies, she's gonna have a bad time. Thanks to the excellent combo of Overload and Beidou, she can really dish out tons of area of effect damage as well as sustain single target damage, and with Albedo, she can deal a ton of area effect damage as well. Yoimiya has a unique attack rotation. You can do it 2 ways. Either first, go in and use your burst, and then use your support skills, then cycle back to Yoimiya and use her normal attack string. If you have enough ER, you should be able to trigger the Shimenawa passive and be set. The other way, which I prefer to do, is to use your supports first, then use Yoimiya's attack string, then follow up with their burst, cycle through your supports again, and get right back into it. Either way is fine, and it's up to preference, but the former will probably dish out more damage in the long run. Yoimiya was flamed when she was released as being one of the worst Genshin characters, but now she has a place in the meta. To be honest, I didn't even want Yoimiya when she was released. I loved her design, and she is probably my favorite female character in Genshin, tied with Ganyu of course. It was by pure accident that I got Yoimiya, since back in the day I didn't have Jean, and I wanted to run an Anemo healer. I pulled for Sayu on her banner, and I was aiming for her C1, and guess who came home instead? Yoimiya. Boy am I happy for that mistake. She's now my second favorite character to play after Zhao, thanks to her rapid playstyle. Thank you all for watching this display of fireworks by Yoimiya and me. If you enjoyed this guide, please leave a like and subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you all for continuing to support me, and I wish you all the best. Until next time, Enigma out.